The difference is it was conditioners that weren't loaded with, usually a conditioner was designed or still is designed to detangle your hair. I didn't design conditioners to detangle your hair. I did them to, help stimulate the scalp and hydrate the hair. So that's was what was different is it never built up because it never weighed down your hair because it didn't have the polymers, fillers, binders, and waxes that detangle and weigh down your hair.
Hi, my name is Courtney and welcome to How They Scaled It, where scaling is done with both sides of the brain. On this show, we sit down with growth stage businesses and speak with the founders and industry leaders of the e-commerce and SaaS sectors. We showcase their journeys, unpacking the pivotal moments, marketing strategies, and key decisions that shaped their success. From passion for photography to building a billion-dollar beauty empire, Chaz Dean has never played by the rules. While most of the hair care industry focused on suds, lather, and sulfates, Chaz took a completely different approach, one that defied everything we thought we knew about hair. Chaz is the founder of WEN Hair Body Care, a brand that has disrupted the beauty industry, challenging the traditional approach to hair care. And with over 40 million bottles sold, WEN became a QVC powerhouse, attracting a cult-like following, celebrity endorsements, and redefining self-care. But Chaz's journey isn't just about creating a good product. It's about changing consumer behavior, building an authentic brand, and turning skeptics into lifelong customers. Chaz, welcome to How They Scaled It.
Hello, thank you.
Of course. We're so excited to have you here.
I just absorbed everything you said as well. Like I kind of took that. I'm like, yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, it's been a journey, I bet, and you've had such incredible success. But I know that you've been at it for a long time, and you've kind of been through it all and seen a lot of things. So I'm hoping we can dig into a lot of that today.
Yeah, I've been doing it literally, I would say, my whole life since right out of high school. So yes, I'm ready.
Amazing. Well, before you became the household name in hair care, you were a photographer and you were pursuing photography. How did you transition that into the beauty space?
I took photography all through high school, 2.5 years in high school, and I loved it. I loved it. A week after I graduated high school, my family moved to Arizona. I was only 17, so I had to go. I didn't want to go. I had to go in the middle of summer in Arizona. No. 115, 20-degree weather. No. So I went to school and I took a commercial course in photography. And my plan was go and take that course and then move back to California because I'll be 18 then. So I did that and it gave me a great foundation, even deeper for photography and, composition and all of that. And what is it you're trying to translate within this photo. And I thought I was ready to move back to California, and then I came for a visit and I'm like, this is a huge city and I'm 18 years old and I feel like I just want more experience under my belt. And I shot photography, I shot models, and I just knew that I wanted to create myself the hair and makeup that I was shooting instead of me meeting with a makeup artist and a hairstylist and telling him what vision I saw in my head. If I could do that myself, it's what made most sense instead of hoping you understood what I see and hear, which I don't think it's always going to hit the mark. So I went to school for hair, and that's where the journey really, really started. And I still do photography today. I just last week shot our labels for our new, it's going to come out in the summer, our summer passion fruit is coming out this summer. So I just shot the labels. It's in my garden. It grows in my garden because I'm vegan at my garden. So my passion fruit on my vine. So I still do my photography. It incorporates in my line that I launched 25 years ago. Yeah. I've shot every label basically.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's like such a scrappy approach to say like, the hairstylist and the makeup isn't getting like, because as a photographer, you're creating this art. And so the subject of your art are these models. And so to say, okay, I don't want to pay you to have to do the thing that's not even quite right. So having to be like, okay, I guess I'll go to school for hair and like do that. Did you find that when you were in school for hair, you were like, this is actually my career? Or were you still saying, I still want to be a photographer?
Oh, no, I knew that. Knew it was weird. It's funny because I never thought about that as you just said it. No, the funny part is I knew that it's not that it wasn't photography, but the focus was hair. So no one's really asked me that, but it's true. When I was going to school for hair, it wasn't like, oh, this is the side bit because of photography. It was hair. It was weird. And I think you're this like a therapy session. I never really thought about it, but even when we were in high school and you take those, I don't know if they're called aptitude tests, whatever it is, where you're trying to figure out what
Right.
field you want to go into. I never fit into any of those boxes. I'm like, none of them, I didn't want to sit at a desk. I didn't want to sit in an office. None of them really moved me. And I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school with all those tests.
Right.
So when we moved to Arizona, I told my family, that my mom and dad, that I wanted to go to school for photography. My dad was a little more closed-minded. He was like, well, okay, if it's what you want to do.
Yeah.
In his mind, they're all kooks and weirdos in his mind. He's like, they're, because it's not the traditional corporate world. So he's like, if it's what you want to do, we'll support you. Like, my son being a photographer, okay. And then when it became time for me to say, go to school for hair, I'm like, oh God, how's this one going to go over? So I said hair, and he kind of thought the same thing. Okay, that's not the traditional, and it's not. It's not what the traditional is. So yeah, it was that element, and I'm blessed the fact that I was adopted and my parents have always been, as long as it makes you happy, we're happy for you. They didn't have to agree with it or understand it. Or be in their wheelhouse, but if I was happy, they were happy was the bottom line. So I'm grateful for that. So yeah, it's funny you say that, because when I went to school for hair, I didn't even think about it. It's just I jumped into it and I love that, and that was it. And I think part of what it said, that's why the therapy session is, I think I kind of probably wanted to do that, but it was like a segue into it maybe, and I was afraid, God, how are they going to take it if I tell them I want to be a hairstylist? God forbid.
Right.
So yeah, I just realized this is it, and on my back was photography on top of that.
Yeah. Well, and also just like being able to, because I think I saw you talk about how when you first started hair, you were taking before and after pictures, and so that was bringing your photography in.
I still
and
do.
that, I mean, that was like, before social media and before everyone was doing that, and so that, I mean, that was like probably really set you apart from other hairstylists at the time.
Yeah, that was like 30 years ago. There was no such thing. I mean, I developed the film and all that then.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. No one did. Even honestly, now with social media, I have to fight my stylists. Not fight. I have to fight with them to take their befores, take their afters. I'm like, you guys don't understand. I had to go to the mall and go to the makeup counters and go up to people and say, try to get them as clients. All you got to do is post on your social media. And they barely do that. I'm like, you guys don't know how easy it is. We had to go up to strangers and say, oh, hi, I'm Chaz. Come in and see me. You don't have to do any of that. All you do is post it and they come to you.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get them to do that. So yeah, it is bizarre and funny that I was way outside the box, because even then, hairstyles didn't take all their befores and afters. It just, it wasn't. To me, I wanted to see that transformation. That's why I've always done it. And to see that transformation is what, once it's gone, it's gone. You have nothing, you record it unless you take the photos of it. And that's what I love about, even to this day, and I do before and after slow-mos and before and after videos, because it's to see, here's how she came in and here's how she left. Look at that magic. Yeah.
And it's kind of, I think, also like plays into the artistry of it, where it's like this you're telling a story of like, this is what it was before and this is what it turned into and here's how it happened. And so I think that there is something just so magical, like you said, about that, because it also like you can see the change in their confidence when you see a before and after of like a really good
100%.
hairstyle.
I used to do hair, and I used to always, up until, well, I don't do it anymore. I always did, and I think it was, I know it was, I'm not going to say I think it was, I used to always turn the clients around so they weren't facing the mirror. I always did. But in all honesty, it's because, I'm being honest, I didn't want to look in the mirror myself all day. I really didn't. I didn't like that. I wasn't comfortable with that. So I would always turn them, and the reveal was always, okay, close your eyes, and I would turn them around. So it became a thing that I did. But a big part of it was that I didn't want to face the mirror all day. It was weird.
Interesting.
But it is. But something that came up yesterday, I want to say as you're talking about it, I forget who it was. Jaron, you were here when we talked about photography, and that people that work for me, everyone, it's teach them how to have the right eye in photography. It's like people that start out, I'm like, hey, can you take a picture of something? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really bad. Let me show you why and whatnot. And I just teach them. I have people that have started out that have no vision whatsoever, and they don't work with me anymore, but they've gone out into the world, and they're amazing photographers now. It's good. I taught them what I was taught in high school and seeing things and composition and how you're lining it up and the placement of everything. And it's like, I do that with all of them and I still do. So even people that work for me, especially assistants, because I teach them to take the before and afters, I'm like, they come in not knowing anything about it and how, I'm like, they'll come in, they'll have this much headroom up there. And I'll ask them, like, they're trying. And I'm like, okay, what do you think could be better about this? Like, oh, there's too much. I'm like, exactly. I want to see what's going on here. I don't want to see what's going on above their head. So I teach them, and it's like, it is I think it's a great element because it goes outside of just the hair spectrum. It's in the world, photography and taking that. So yes, I'm a hairstylist, but I'm just so much more than that.
Yeah. Well, clearly, I mean, so you went kind of from photography world into hairstylist, and then you decided to create your own products because what was out there on the market just like wasn't working for you. Can you tell me about like how you decided like I'm gonna go make this product and then I'm gonna start selling it?
Well, it started because the company I worked for, coming out of beauty school, the company I worked for, when I started, and I was only an assistant. I'm a Leo, Scorpio, rising Virgo moon, which means a lot of passion for a lot of things, and you get things done. So I just asked them one day, I'm like, you have your own product line, but you order your deep conditioners from the beauty supply. To me, as a 19-year-old kid, that doesn't make sense. Why?
Yeah.
And they said, well, if you want, we'll set you up with a lab, and you can help us create one.
Wow.
I've never done it. I cooked. I've cooked since I was a kid. So I've always enjoyed recipes and stuff like that and whatnot. So I'm like, to me, it was interesting. I'm like, yes, of course, I would love to do that. So I did. And I did a deep conditioner for them. And it was called Reconstructor. We launched that. It did great. People loved it. It was fantastic for your hair. And they came to me a couple of months later and said, we're thinking of doing a more natural product line. Would you be interested? My element was yes, but what will I get out of it? Because I knew I did it once already. And it was just like, barely a thank you, but kind of. So I said, what will I get out of it? And again, this time I was like 19, maybe almost 20. And they said, well, just prove to us you can do it first and we'll talk about that later. So I wanted, exactly, that's the red flag, but I was 19, maybe almost 20.
It's a cool opportunity too.
I love doing it. Yeah, I love doing it. I wanted to do it. And to me, it was growth. And I knew that. I'm like, I want to learn this. I wouldn't have that opportunity on my own. So yes, I'll do it. So I did do it. I created a primrose shampoo, sage conditioner, rosemary conditioner for them. And it took a little over a year because they kept pushing. I'm like, my name's on it. When it's done, it's done. It will be ready when I'm proud of it. So launched that. And long story short, in my mind throughout that year, I thought, okay, because there was no dialogue of what I'll get out of it. So in my mind, I had a dialogue of, I'll get 15%. That was at the beginning. As the year went on, without even talking to them, in my head, in my own dialogue, knowing them, I talked myself down from 15% to the time we launched it. I was down like 3% without even talking to them about dialogue, just knowing that they didn't reward in that type of way. So when it came time to figure out what I was going to get out of it, I met with them, and I went from 15%, remember, down to 3 in my own head, no dialogue. So I met with them, and they put a contract across the table for me, turned it upside down. I should have known that was a red flag, turning it upside down. I flipped it over, and they offered me a penny per bottle for every bottle manufactured.
Oh my god!
And my heart went, like right now it does. Each time I think of that, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like if I worked with someone or someone worked for me and they did it for me and I offer them a penny, to me that's like stabbing you in the back. That's just messed up. So I didn't have to invest money, but it's a product, 3 products you wouldn't have had without me doing it. I did it with the lab. So it was just a slap in the face. Never even saw that, and I never even pushed on it because I knew 100 products equaled $1. So I'm like, I just was trying to get to, how do I get to $1,000? It's insane. So I never saw that. And the funny part is, this answers your question you asked me. They came to me a couple of years later after they screwed me over with that and told me they were thinking of selling their salon, and they offered it to me because I was one of their stylist there, and this was in the Glen Center. And at first I thought, no way, because even when I worked for them and I was their manager, they didn't pay assistant managers, they didn't pay you anything. There was no salary for it. It was just a title. And I'm like, just show me it means something to you. Just pay me minimum wage, which then was like under $4 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Under $4 an hour. Just pay me $120 a week just to show that my giving of my time and dedication means something. $120 a week is all I wanted. Show me it means something to you. Didn't do that. So when they offered me the salon, number one, I asked for that for managing. Just give me minimum wage. Again, $120 a week. And that was not, I wouldn't even get all that because taxes.
Right.
And then when they screwed me over in the product, I already knew. So when they offered it to me, I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not going to stab me back yet again.
Right.
But then I thought about it and I weighed it out. I'm like, you know what? I can make this work because what it was is they were a chain salon and this one was in the Glen Center. And because it was in the Glen Center, it's a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. It's Bel Air. It's one of the richest neighborhoods in California. And these women are not going to walk into a chain salon. So I had told them change the name because they wondered what's going wrong, what's happening. And as a stylist would leave and go open their own salons, they had talented stylists, but they didn't have their own clientele. So they lost people that had their own clientele is what was happening. And I said, if you change that name to anything but Carlton, it's a great salon. You have great stylists here. These people's egos not letting them walk it. It'd be like saying, I'm going to Burger. I'm sorry, I'm going to fast food rather than a high. What is it called? A Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it. So
Right.
in my mind, I thought I can do this because the only thing that's standing in the way of this being a successful salon is their ego. So my lesson is get your ego out of the way. Don't let your ego get involved and think about it. If someone brings something to you, weigh it out and like, wow, that does make sense because I did do it. I did end up buying it from them. I had to borrow money from my grandfather, which we didn't come from money, but he had enough to lend me for the opening and paid him back on that. But my element is that I changed the name and within 4 or 6 weeks, it was buzzing. And it's just, I didn't have any money, so I painted it, hang roses that people gave me for the opening upside down. It was that shabby chic era in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I just made a vibe out of it and it hustled. And they lived in the neighborhood and they would be up there all the time. And they're like, I don't understand. What did you do? How did you do this? I'm like, I told you all you had to do is change that name. There's not much different. Yes, I made it more cozy, whatnot, what I could. But it was the element of their ego was in the way. So answer your question, the day I purchased the salon is the day I knew I was going to give up lather. Because I had been experimenting with the products I made for them with the sage and rosemary conditioner. And I started on day one and I cleansed my hair with the sage and rosemary because rosemary is astringent, sage is moisturizing. I did day one because I was so oily. I used to be really oily. I would have to shampoo and condition my hair twice a day, morning and night, because I would rub my scalp. I remember the feeling when I would lather, my scalp would tighten up. I remember that feeling from 30 years ago. My scalp would tighten up and it felt horrible. And as the day went on, my oil glands would start to replenish. My scalp would be oily, my ends would be dry, but I'd have to cleanse because I was oily at the scalp. So twice a day, 14 times a week. So the day one when I opened my own salon, I'm like, you know what? I don't have to do this anymore because I had to sell their products. And I thought, I'm going to just try this. So day one was sage and rosemary mixed together. Day two, sage and rosemary mixed together. Day three, and I just kept going on. And to this day, May 1st of this year will be 32 years that I have not lathered hair, face, body, skin, anything. So it was just a test to see how long can I go without lathering. And then I went to my garden and I got sage, rosemary, lavender, eucalyptus. I went up to Mulholland and got the eucalyptus. And I boiled this all in my kitchen. And it was just like a tea, an elixir. It wasn't creamy like a conditioner. It wasn't creamy like a shampoo, nothing like that. It was literally just like an elixir tea. And I cleansed my scalp with it in the shower and it was tingly. I'm like, this works and it feels good. And I'm on to something. And that's when I went and met with the lab. But I didn't tell them what I was doing or trying to do because I was afraid that one of these huge top companies was going to steamroll me and steal my idea.
Well, I mean, like you've had like all these like terrible experiences with this larger company that did they didn't steal your idea, but they didn't reward you for it.
They almost did. We'll get to that. Remind me, they almost did. Because I did this for years and I told them about because I was excited at first. Oh, we don't use shampoo because I would order my sage and rosemary that I created for them, but not the shampoo because I didn't use shampoo anymore. And when I first told them, they're like, oh, man, that's weird, whatever. And then as the years went on, they're like, wait, tell me, you told me you don't use shampoo. You never order shampoo from just conditioner. I'm like, we're good. It's like, because I knew now they knew I'm on to something, they were going to steal it. So go ahead, but they were going to steal it. They came and they're like, they knew he's on to something. What is it he's doing? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think that what I really love about your story is that you had this like bad experience where you kind of got ripped off and you were betrayed and But when the opportunity presented itself, you let go of your own ego to say, okay, like let's look at this and see how I can make the best out of this situation of them offering me the salon. I think a lot of people would say, screw you, like you didn't help
I am
me.
so glad that's exactly where you went, because that's my message I try to say is I could have been disgruntled, I could have been pissed off, I could have held on to this for the last 30 years that they screwed me over, and I would have lost all this. I did. And that's what people have to realize. Yes, bad things happen. How
Yeah.
can you make a diamond out of that bad thing that
Right,
happened to you
right.
instead of living in that and staying in that? I'm glad you recognize that, because what my message is so many people, bad things happen, they hold on to it. Or again, we're not going this direction, but even
Yeah.
childhood, if it's things that happened in your childhood, holding your parents, okay, you're an adult now. They did that. It's the best they could, the best they knew.
Right.
Let that go, and you need to. Otherwise, you're hostage of that. It's the same thing with this. So many people hold on to stuff that it's holding them back from their good. You have to know that, like, no, I wouldn't invite that experience again, but again, if I didn't experience that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So you have
Right,
to
right.
use it as a stepping stone. And how do I rise out of that and
Yeah.
come out of that? Again, if I was disgruntled and pissed this whole time, this never would have happened. So
Right,
this is for
right.
everyone. Like, if you have a bad experience, how can I turn that bad experience into gold or into a dream that you want to have happen?
Yeah. And like still recognize good opportunities and then also
And-
bad opportunities. So like you're like, okay, this shop is in a really good location. It'd be really hard to start this on my own. So and I can make this work so I can like really do well. But then also when that company came to you and said, tell me more about your cleansing conditioner, you're like, no, thank you. like I think that you still were able to recognize the good opportunities from the bad opportunities, using what you learned, but also taking advantage of like, you know, your own belief in yourself. And that is such a I'm honestly impressed that you were able to do that when you were so young because it's like
Yeah, I was in my 20s at all of this, which is, yeah. It's, I think I do believe it is my Leo and Scorpio and Virgo and all that, because I've always been driven and focused.
yeah,
I really
yeah.
have, and follow that. Yeah, you said something, I was going to bring something up, but it's all good. It's all good.
Wait.
Things comes back, I'll remember.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so once you started, so you're like, okay, hair care is the future for me. Kind of discovered this way of not having to lather and eliminating shampoo. So you still had your salon going. How did you start did you just start selling the product, or what kind of was the challenge to get to the point where you were like getting customers and selling?
Well, the funny part is it's all connected, because I sold the sage and rosemary conditioner that I created for
Right.
them.
Right.
And it's because the difference is it was conditioners that weren't loaded with. Usually, a conditioner was designed, or still is designed, to detangle your hair. I didn't design conditioners to detangle the hair. I did them to, help stimulate the scalp and hydrate the hair. So was what was different. Is it never built up, because it never weighed down your hair, because it didn't have the polymers, fillers, binders, and waxes that detangle and weigh down your hair. So I ordered that from them until the time came for me to launch mine. So I would take the sage. Every client that came in, we would have to empty it into a bottle and mix. It was 1/3 rosemary, 2/3 sage, mix it in. And that we would have to do for every customer. Take that home. You're going to take this home. Here's what you're going to do. And it wasn't until they realized not only was I doing this, but their point was, you never order shampoo from us. You only order the conditioner. How and why? And at first I told them, like I said, but then when they came back again a second time, they realized, this man's on to something. He took over our salon. He made a success of it. He developed our products for us, and now he's on to something else. I want to know what that is. I'm like, Like he came in asking my other stylist, yeah, last time I was here, he told me something about he doesn't use shampoo. And then she started telling me, don't tell them, because I know what they're going to do.
Trade
They're going to rip me
secret.
off again. Yeah. And it was hard, because even as I was creating it, I didn't tell the lab that I told the lab, can you make me a shampoo and then these 2 conditioners? And I was only going to launch one, but it was the starting of, these are my foundations, let's start here. So as the time went on, and I took 5 years to perfect it, and part of it was I didn't have the money, so I had to wait till I had money to launch it. But it took the 5 years to perfect it. But as the time went on, I kept changing the conditioners. Can you add this? Can you remove this? A little bit more of this, a little less of that. And one day they, probably 2 years into it, they came and said, we keep making all these changes on the conditioners, but we haven't done anything with the shampoo. I'm like, oh no, we're good with that. That one's good.
Yeah.
never planned on launching shampoo, but I still couldn't tell them because I was afraid if I told them I was this little guy with no money, and if they
Right.
tell one of their other customers, oh yeah, we have this guy who's creating these conditioners and not shampoo, I'm like, I really was afraid someone's going to steal it from me. So having fast forward from, again, that was now 1995, and I was launching it in November of 2000. So when it came time to launch it, I made sure I had my patent pending, I had everything aligned.
Yes.
But when it came time to launch it, I was so used to shielding it and protecting it. I was almost afraid to talk about it and sell it because I was afraid
Yeah.
someone was going to snowball. I'm like, okay, you have your patent pending, you're good now.
Right.
You can let it out there to the world. But it was so coveted and so protected because I used to work with L'Oreal. I used to work with them and go to classes, and it was that line that they knew I was working on something, and they would have me test their new products and stuff, and I'm like, it's getting to where I can't because I need to do
Right.
my thing, and they knew it, but I also didn't want them stealing what my thing was, and I had to be quiet about it. It was crazy, so I had to remove myself from that because I would work with them when they were testing colors because I love color. I'm a colorist, and I love that part. But when it got into their styling products and other products, like I can't do that. Color, I can, but I can't do the others. It's a conflict. So yeah, I got used to putting a shield around it and protecting it. That when it came time to launch it, I'm like, I have to talk about it now. I have to know and
Yeah.
exhale and know it's okay. I'm protected.
Yeah.
I just felt like that even with me launching and getting it out there, that someone still could come and steamroll on me. I
Right.
knew I had the patent pending, and it wasn't until the patent came through that I'm like, okay, I can
Okay.
breathe now. It's
We
like I
can
can
do
breathe
it.
now. Patent pending means you have a pin in it. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's locked in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I had the patent that I'm like, okay, get out there and talk about it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
once you do, I already had the 5+ years of having every client that came in, you're not going to shampoo, and they just told each one, and that people would see it and recognize it. You would see the TV shows, you wouldn't know it, but you would see the difference in their hair. And if I told you, oh, she's like, oh, of course she is, because I saw her hair go from dry,
Yeah.
fried, and this, and broken to beautiful, healthy, and shiny. I'm like, that's my girl. And it
Yeah.
wasn't even called WEN yet. It's just called Chaz. It was Chaz.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just Chaz. You're going to see Chaz. Yeah, I'm going to see Chaz.
Yeah. Well, how did you come up with the name WEN? Like, where did that come from?
I knew, okay, everyone that came into my door, I would tell them, because they thought I was crazy. It's like if they could have put me in an institute or a straitjacket, they thought I was crazy until they did it. And they're like, okay,
Yeah.
this really does work. Because they hear you're never going to use shampoo. It'd be like me telling you today you're never going to use toothpaste again. You're like,
Yeah.
up until now you need that, or deodorant. When that,
Right,
well,
right.
some people don't, but toothpaste,
Yeah.
I don't have to. So if I told you you're never going to use toothpaste again, it's like, but I have this alternative. They're skeptics because they've always used toothpaste their whole life. People shampooed their whole life. So to hear I'm never going to do that, I'm like, okay, they told me. I'm like, you love her hair. You came to her because of her hair, correct? Yes. I've seen the change in her hair. That's why I'm here. I'm like, I promise it works as long as you trust me. And you're going to cleanse, rinse, repeat, just like shampoo, rinse, condition, rinse, same steps. I'm not changing anything. You're just not going to lather. And they're like, but isn't that what cleans your hair? I'm like, no, lather doesn't clean your hair. It strips your hair. It strips your color. It strips your hair. It strips your natural essential oils. And that's why you have the vicious cycle. It's why you have the dandruff, all that stuff, because you're robbing it. And then you don't have the good bacteria that wart that off. And it's a vicious cycle. So all the bad things that happen are because you've stripped it. Squeaky clean doesn't mean clean hair. It means literally stripped hair. So when they heard that and understood it, I said, as long as you trust me, I promise it works. So as they left, they would say, okay, it doesn't make sense. You want me to cleanse with conditioner, but I trust you. So everyone would say it sounds backwards. That doesn't make sense. That sounds backwards.
Yeah.
And I would say, promise it works. So having heard that for 5 years, I'm like, everyone always thinks it's a backwards approach. And I would say it's a backwards approach. You're cleansing with conditioner. It's not polymer conditioner or filler conditioner. It's a cleansing. And I didn't even have the name cleansing conditioner yet. I had to think, what am I calling the product? I didn't even have that. I'm like, I'm naming that instead of shampoo, conditioner. I'm like, well, you're cleaning and you're conditioning. I got cleansing, conditioner, cleansing, conditioner. So that came up first. First was cleansing. Like, what am I going to call it? Not
Yeah.
shampoo. I knew
Right.
that.
Right.
Not just conditioner. I knew that. So cleansing conditioner came first because I'm like, you're cleaning, you're conditioning. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I thought, what am I going to call it? I'm like, well, I always tell everybody it's a whole new way of looking at cleansing your hair, and everyone thinks it's a backwards approach.
Yeah.
So I wrote new on a piece of paper, and I held it up in front of a mirror. I wrote a lot of 3-letter words. I knew I wanted it to be 3 letters. I know I wanted to have a very Zen feel. And then I wrote I wrote new on a piece of paper, and I hold it in front of a mirror. I'm like, new when. Yeah, it's a backwards way. People think it doesn't make sense. It's backwards.
Yeah.
News spelled backwards is when. And like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, what a great story. I love that. And I think one thing that you're kind of like talking about is a lot of this discovery and figuring out how you're going to talk about the product and like what the product is happened in these 5 years where you were keeping it really shielded and you were scared to talk about it. But it feels like you were doing so much customer research and so much education and figuring out what people's objections were, because ultimately what you've done is you've had to change consumers' behaviors, which as a marketer is extremely difficult. So you're educating and changing someone's behavior. And so I think all of that work that you did, and even coming up with the name of being like, well, the feedback is that this is backwards, so I'm going to like play on that. I think that really helped you in those 5 years. So when you launched, did you feel like you had like a very clear message to tell people? Because how quickly did you get onto QVC? Because that seems to be like what like really took off.
It took me 5 years. So I launched, again, I gave up lather so it's a process. I gave up lather in 93, started working on my very own, because I did the sage and rosemary, mixing all that for the first 2 years. And then
so
I'm like,
scrappy.
okay.
Just mix it together.
Yeah. So I did that for 2 years, and then finally I'm like, and I had to find a lab and do all that stuff too, because I didn't have all that. So once I did that, I went to the garden, the sage, rosemary, lavender, eucalyptus, and all that. I'm like, okay, this is my starting ground. And also, I also did research of, cleansing, clarifying, astringent, hydrating, moisturizing, so, emulsifiers, all those sort of elements, and what will really get the work done and so forth. That was the element. So I went to the lab, I'm like, here's my starting ground, but I need to now take this to the next level. This is like a foundation where it's starting, and that's why it took 5 years, because we need to take this now and take it to a whole nother level. And that's what we did. Like, I don't even have sage and rosemary now, but if I compare that to what WEN is, I'm like, it's like a concept. It was like a bicycle compared to a Ferrari, and I'm making that up. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, here's where we're starting wheels, but here's the wheels we're ending up with.
Yeah.
So, yes. And then as far as the people, like you said, I was 100% confident, because I knew. I'm like, this is what we use on you. Feel your hair. They're like, I don't get it. How can it be so light? And so, because that's the other thing, is people are shocked that it's so light.
Yeah.
It feels bouncy, but it feels lighter. And part of that's my styling products as well, because nobody wanted products in their hair that weighed it down. So I knew I had to create something that it's not going to feel weighed down. It's going to do the opposite, and it breathes life into your hair. So that's the other part, is when I do my leave-in conditioners, my styling products, I put a lot in your hair. And I'm like, feel your hair. Like, my God, that's so much. I'm like, and then I'll cut their hair. I'm like, feel your hair now. Like, where did it go? So by the time I'm done cutting it, like, where'd it go? I'm like, that absorbs into your hair. It's not filled with the polymers, fillers that is sitting on your hair or weighing down your hair.
Right.
And like, they're blown away. But I'm like, think of it like helium in a balloon, or blowing air into a balloon, or up into a hot air balloon. It's filling it up, and it's becoming lighter and more airy and more bouncy. And that's what blows them away, is how much product I do put in their hair to protect it from the heat, to hydrate it, to help give it bounce body and volume and shine. And then the end result, they're like, how? I'm like, because it's not filled with all the nasty stuff, all those chemicals. So it was easy to talk about, because obviously you can see I'm very passionate about it 30-something years later.
Yeah. And then you were able to get onto QVC. And so I think that's great, because you were probably just speaking directly to the population about what it is. And I think you're obviously a very good salesperson. So
QVC helped me with that.
Yeah. Did it all just kind of like take off straight up from there, or did it take a while to build up?
The element for QVC is like, I had a client who was on QVC. Her company was called Lather, and she was on QVC, and I knew it. And I didn't know, I only knew my mom used to shop. My mom passed away 24 years ago of cancer, but she used to shop on QVC. And back then in the 90s, I'm like, Mom, you're supposed to go to the mall and shop. You don't shop from TV. You can't even touch it, feel it, smell it, any of those things. And she did. And she had the last laugh, because she passed away in 2001. And 4 years later, I was on QVC, and we used to tease her. We used to not tease, like we had a great
Yeah.
rapport, but tease her like, Mom, go to the mall, go to the store, come with us. She's like, no,
Right.
I'm good. I'm watching my QVC. So the element is I thought, because I had clients that told me, oh, you should sell on QVC. I'm like, no, I know what that is. My mom used to do that. And I'm sorry, I'm being honest, but I thought, that's a little weird. It's not.
Yeah, yeah.
But I thought about it, and I knew that my product was a product that, again, it's the first of its kind. So even if I was in Sephora, where are you
need
going
to educate.
There's shampoo, there's conditioner. Where does this go? And even if it does go on a shelf, what's going to happen? Because no one's going to know what it is because
Right.
it's new. So I realized, yeah, you're right. I do need a captive audience to explain it. I knew it needed to be explained. Once it's explained, all rest unfolds. So this was in 2004 that it started. So 2004, I would ask my client, hey, can you help me or guide me to QVC or get me in? Some people are like, she did a little bit, but I think she thought, if I bring you on, that means I get less airtime. And some people think that. I've never thought the way anyone that does. I'm like, here you go, whatnot. But some people do, and it's like, I'm not stealing your thunder. Yours was body stuff, and I didn't really have that much body stuff at the time. So in September of 2004, I don't know if you remember, but Desperate Housewives became launched and
Huge,
became one episode, and they were everywhere.
Yeah, I
every
remember
bus
that.
stop, every worldwide, they were everywhere. We hosted an Emmy Style Lounge right before Desperate Housewife aired, and Terry Hatcher, Marcia Cross, Nicolette Sheridan was my first celebrity client, so she was already my client.
Yeah.
But they came to my Style Lounge, and we gifted them the WEN products, and that was in September. By the time November came around, I forged a friendship with Terry Hatcher because she loved the music we were playing, and I lived on the property. And when she wanted privacy, I brought her to my house where I lived and some privacy and whatnot. So we forged a relationship, a friendship. And in November, she invited me to her, at that time, 50th birthday party. And so I went to that, and Desperate Housewives, by this point, only 2 months later, from September to November, only 2 months later, they had a house account set up. They bought WEN from us, and shows don't do that. They're gifted everything, but they literally set up a house account with the WEN, and they would purchase it from us and come and collect it and use it on all the girls. So I went to her party, and I walked in, and the first person I saw was Eva Longoria, and Eva Longoria actually was a WEN girl even before I launched WEN from 1999. She was married to Nicholas Gonzalez, and he introduced me to her, and she used it even when she was on her soap operas. In 1999, she would use my Sage Rosemary stuff. So she was always a WEN girl. And so when I walked in the party, she was dating JC Chazé at that time from In Sync.
In Sync.
And she said to me, hey, Chaz. And he said, hey to me. She's like, they looked at each other, how do you know Chaz? How do you know Chaz? And In Sync was using WEN as well, because my girl, my best friend, was their makeup artist. So they looked at each other like, I didn't know you knew Chaz. How do you know Chaz? So as I went through the house, next one was Terry Hatcher. And what was cool is I went upstairs to use the bathroom. She was up there. And she goes, oh, my God, because it's the first time I've seen her since September, the party. Oh my God, I just have to tell you, Chaz, I've never been known as the girl with the good hair. Look at me, look at my hair. And she was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But her testimonial right there was like everything.
Yeah.
Then I went downstairs. I'm getting to your QVC thing. I apologize. I went downstairs, and Felicity Huffman was there, and I never met her. I'd never met her. She was there with William H. Macy, her husband. And I went up to her, and I said, hi, I'm Chaz, because I knew they all used it because they order it for the set. I said, hey, hi, I'm Chaz Dean with WEN. She goes, oh my gosh, honey, this is the guy. And she whacked him. This is the guy with WEN. You know, the tea tree that's in her shower. This is him. And she was all excited. I went into the next, this is real. I went into the next room, and Marcia Cross was there. And I said, hi, Marcia. I said, you came to my Style Lounge in September. I didn't see her there. I didn't even know she was there. I didn't get a chance to see. Oh my gosh, I love your fig cleansing. They all had the ones they loved their favorite. I love your fig. And she told her girlfriend, my hair, it's because I am. Da, 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 da. So all these girls were blown away. The other part is at the beginning, Eva Longoria told me, I need to come by and get more WEN this week. I said, well, hold off. Don't do that yet. Because they were nominated for the Golden Globe. And I was bringing them gift basket. I was going to bring that as their nomination. So I said, don't do that yet. And here's where it connects the story. So they came in to pick up WEN, and they said Oprah was coming in January of 2005. And it was Oprah's birthday the day she was on set. They're like, we're wondering if you'd want to do a gift basket for Oprah. I'm like, Yeah, hello. I'm like, I'm going to say no. So I did a gift basket for Oprah. I'm cutting the story short because I almost didn't go to the set that day, but my assistant, who was a black girl, and that's important because I wanted her to translate to Oprah that it works on all hair types.
Yeah.
She goes, Chaz, if I went and I met her and you didn't go, I would feel horrible and you would kick yourself. I'm like, you know what, you're right. I'm giving up the opportunity to potentially meet her. So I said, I'll go. So we went to the set. We brought it. They said, do you want to go down to the set and give it to Miss Oprah Winfrey yourself? I'm like, yeah. So they let us on set. We went down. I handed the basket to Oprah. I'm paraphrasing because so much happened on that day. Handed her the basket, and she said, is this why all their hair looks so good? I'm like, they all use WEN. The men, the kids, the whole set, everybody used WEN. The hairstylists, makeup artists, everyone in the whole set used WEN. It was amazing. And she's like, wow, that's why their hair looks so good. And I'm like, yes, and it works on all hair types. Boom. I told her, Holly, Hallie, Tisha, ask your girls. They're all on your show. Ask them. They all use WEN. And she left there. She left there walking away, and this is a lesson for people as well. I never let people call it shampoo. If ever they called it shampoo, I said, no, not shampoo. It's cleansing conditioner. And I always corrected everybody up until now 5 years later. And Oprah walked away with her gift basket and saying, I can't wait to shampoo my hair. And because it was Oprah, I let her call it shampoo. But even as I left the set that day on my drive home, I thought I should have stopped her and corrected her and said, cleansing, because she would remember that. So lesson to people and everyone, if anyone ever calls your company or you or name, whatever it is, a brand of something outside of what you'd want them to, even if it's Oprah, no matter who it is, I, to this day now, even as I went off the set, I would have corrected her and said, you mean cleansing, because that would have stuck more with her. So having said that, I got home that day and I knew that I handed it to Oprah, and Oprah was in 2005. She was like talk show everything. So I'm like, I just handed it to Oprah. The housewives are using it. Housewives is worldwide. If QVC doesn't want it now, they'll never. If they don't want it now, they'll never want it. So the element is it gave me that confidence, and that's what we're talking about. And you asked me why. This is what gave me the confidence knowing I handed it to Oprah. I didn't use her name because I know you don't use her name without her permission. But having the confidence know I handed it to her and know she's going to love it had me call QVC. And because I had the confidence finally, I was always afraid I might get a no. So I was afraid to call because I was afraid it might be a no. At this point, if they don't want it now, they'll never want it. So I called and they weren't there. I left a message. It went back and forth all the way until the end of March. So from January now all the way to the end of March, telephone tag back and forth with QVC. And finally they called and I said, I have your attorney on the line. I have QVC on the line. I'm like, I'll take QVC. I'll call my attorney back because I get my attorney and I know that. So I got on the line with QVC and she says, hi, I'm Melanie from QVC and we'd be interested in setting up a time to meet with you at some point. And I said, sure, I'd love to. And she said, I said, when? She goes, how does next week sound? I'm like, I'll be there. So it was April 4th of 2005. I met with them. And the other part that's amazing with this story is I had a client who was an executive sales coach, and she was working with Guthrie Ranker, which was proactive, the number one of infomercials, number one. They did number one, especially back in 2005. And she told me, once I get in and I get my feet wet, because she was a 60-year-old woman, I changed her life. She goes, I have hair that I've never had in my life because it was thin and I got it so much fuller and better. She goes, as soon as I get my feet and I feel comfortable enough, I'm going to tell them about WEN. The irony is, the night before I went to Pennsylvania for QVC, she says, I have a meeting with them. I want to come by and pick up the WEN. She met with them the same morning, the same day I was in Pennsylvania meeting with QVC. She was meeting with Guthrie Ranker in the Palm Desert on the same day, April 4th, 2005. I'm like, what are those odds? So I came out of my meeting, and again, at this point, Nicole Murphy was using it. She had 5 kids with Eddie Murphy. Not one of them has the same hair type. It works on everyone, and I know that. So I told them that because I'm like, Nicole Murphy's fine. She was buying it by the gallon. She's like, fine with me talking about it. So I did, and as we walked out of the room, I'm like, if you were going to do this, how would it work? They're like, oh, no, not if. We are doing this. So they took me through QVC. We walked through it. I called. Her name was Carol Seagrave. I called Carol and said, hey, I just met with them. Oh, my gosh, this is so good. She goes, well, let me tell you. When I first met with them this morning, I mentioned I mentioned about hair care, and they said, no, we don't do hair care. And then they said, well, she says, well, let me just tell you a little bit about him. And she started to tell me about, and they said, wait a minute, does his name happen to be Chaz Dean?
Yeah.
And so they said yes, but they didn't do hair care. She said they broke and they went for lunch. And when they came back an hour later, she said, Chaz, they fired questions at me. They went and they researched you while we were at lunch. They researched you. They had every question in the world for me.
Yeah.
And it happened on the same day, April 4th of 2005.
Yeah.
And that one, it took all the way from April 4th to 2005. They were very slow, got the record. We didn't launch the infomercial till January 2007.
Oh,
They
wow.
were slow. I went on QVC August 27th of 2005. So what was that?
Yeah.
5 months later, I went on QVC,
Yeah.
and they took over a year and a half for their part to happen. And I was already like a household name and da-da-da.
Yeah.
So all the confidence gave me was Oprah was the final straw. The housewives were a huge part. Yeah, Oprah was my final straw that like, Oprah, I just handed it to Oprah.
Yeah.
You don't
it's
want it,
huge.
you're never going to want this.
Especially
So
at that time, like in
in
history where it's
2005,
just,
she was everything. She was
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking away from now, but she was
Right.
everything then. Everyone.
Of
Her
course,
word was
yeah.
gospel. And if she said it, you did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was that. But I had so many celebs using it. And then when On Air with Ryan Seacrest was on, if you remember that,
Yeah,
when he would
yeah.
do those shows, we were the gift. The gift that you would get was WEN. So
Oh, nice.
everyone
Okay.
that was on his show would get WEN. So it just crazy snowballed. And
Yeah.
I know it's going to come up to your AI question. That's why I'm like, I'm not. Mine's always been word of mouth. All you do is you
Yeah.
see the difference in your hair, and that's what does it. It's
Yeah.
instead of them telling you, "Oh, you don't need to try this." Like, I see the difference in yours. I need to know, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, so I mean, there's so many different brands that are celebrity endorsed, but they fade away over time. But you've really stayed, and you're talking about like your first celebrity endorsements were like in the early 2000s. Culture's changed so much. So what do you think it is about your brand that has really been so sticky, not only with celebrity endorsements, but being able to like grow and build beyond that? You know?
I know this because even my models on QVC say it. So my models that I have on QVC, this August will be their 20th going their, well, this is my 20th year. So they'll be going into their 21st year. So even the models that have been with me from day one for 20 years now say you don't stick with a product that doesn't work. And that's the point.
So
If it
true.
didn't work, it wouldn't have that. It's not smoke and mirrors. And I'm going to say this because when I first started at QVC, there was someone with a brand that's no longer there. And he was doing great. I was doing great. He's like, I want a brand with you. It was before I even knew what that really meant. And to be honest
Yeah.
with you, I was 20 something. I'm like, what is branding? I really didn't know what it meant because it was
Yeah.
before the huge internet stuff for real. And so
Yeah.
when he said, I'm like, didn't know what that meant. But what he said is, you're hot. My brand's hot. We got to get in and strike while we're hot. And I'm like, no, that's not who I am. I'm here for the long term.
Right.
And needless to say, he was there maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and completely gone now. It's because all he wanted is to get in, get them all you can, and get out quick.
Yeah.
And it's never been my thing. It's like I've always listened to my customer. I've always grown with my customer. I've always taken feedback from my customer. I create my products off of a void that I need or my customers need or someone needs. It's never been, oh, here, I got something. It's not the smoke and mirrors. And even when we shot our first infomercial, I want to tell you this. Our first infomercial, when we shot it, Matthew Ralston was hot at the time, and I loved his videos and so forth. Beautiful, beautiful work. And he's the one that would be my vision because I knew it would be beautiful being a photographer. And they hooked me up with a guy, and he knows this, so I'm not saying anything I haven't said to him.
Yeah.
A guy who they brought to me, and I'm like, he shoots beauty and all. I'm like, he looked like a truck driver, and he knows that because I've told him, like, his name was Bob. He did every one of our infomercials. He was amazing and incredible, but he didn't look like he would shoot beauty
Right,
at all.
right.
And so the element is that's who shot every one of our infomercials. He's incredible, Bob. But I said from the very day one, I'm like, I don't want any smoke and mirrors. It is what it is. We didn't use any curl irons, any flat irons. Everything we did is what I teach and what I do. We didn't cheat. He's like, you can do it. I'm going to tell you, you can do it. It's possible. It will be extremely hard.
Yeah.
Because everything else is smoke and mirrors. And I'm like, I have nothing to hide. Pull back the curtain. There's nothing to hide here. So it's not. And unfortunately, you answered your own question. Why did they not last? Because it's smoke and mirrors. And it's like most products that you see from the big companies, I won't name them, you'll see a product that comes out and the claims that they make are intense. But is that product there a year later? Most of them, no. Because the claims they make, they know they can't sustain it, but they get in, they get that, and they get out.
Right.
They come back with something else, and they get you and they get in there, and they get out. It's not who I am, but pay attention to that now.
Yeah.
And someone gave me that advice long ago that they make these claims because they know by the time someone calls them out on the claims, that product's gone. So they have
Right.
nothing. They're out with another one, and they're out with another one. And that's what you'll see in the Goliath of the brands.
Yeah.
And it's not who I am. I've had the same Sweet Almond Mint for 25 years. Like everyone I have, they don't change. They're the same for, I've been with the lab that I work with for 30 years because it was 5 years creating and 25 years in the market. So I've been with them from day one. So it's authentic, it's real, and it's the people that are spokespeople for these. They really use it. They're not just putting their name to a product. And I never won that. I'm like, that was the other part. I'm like, I won't take on someone who doesn't. They have to use it and so
Right.
forth. Meaning I wouldn't do one that, I'm just going to slap my name on it. So that was the element. I've always been in that vein as well. So yeah, I don't care. Again, if you're Taylor Swift, and you're saying you use WEN and you don't use WEN, sorry, it's not going to happen. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's always been that element. So it sustains time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And when you think about like the beauty, like especially if you're a small brand and you're growing, which obviously you're not anymore, but when you were growing, the way you grow as a beauty brand is to get repeat purchases. Like and you're constantly bringing in new customers, but you have to have repeat business because it's so expensive to find new customers. And so I feel like all these kind of independent brands that then take off, it's because they have it's a proven product. Like it just is. And so that seems to be where your success has been, because you have these celebrities who are using it who are actually using it. And so when they talk about it, you can feel their authenticity, and you're not relying on it purely. You're just getting it. As long as you can get it into the hands of people, then they'll come back. So
Well, that's exactly it. And
yeah.
we do, because we do all these events and whatnot and gifting suites and whatnot. The funny part is I found out, my gosh, now it's probably, I don't remember how many years ago, but you remember the show Castle?
Yeah.
I never knew this till towards the end of the show, and I got a letter from her, Catastanic, and I never knew she was a WEN girl, but I'm like, it makes sense because I watched that show and she looked like a WEN commercial the whole time. Her hair was always gorgeous and shiny and whatnot, and I should have known from that, because I say you can tell WEN girls by the hair. It moves, it swings, it shines, it bounces, and so forth. And she's like, you saved my hair, because everything it goes through on set is WEN has saved my hair. And she's like, I've used it from. And then I ran into Nathan Filler, who's on the show as well. He's friends with Ming Na, she's a 25-year WEN girl. Her actually last name is WEN. She's like, he's named it after me. So we're good friends for 25 years. But he knows her, and he said the same thing. I never would have known this, but it wasn't until I met him when she was coming out with her, we went to the Galaxy premiere, and I met him. He's like, oh my gosh, you're WEN. I love it. And I'm like, I don't know it sometimes until I meet these people, but it's really cool. It's cool because they speak about. The other part I'm going to say is Bradley Cooper he was a WEN guy. I don't know if he still is, because this goes back years.
Right.
So I would think he still is. But anytime he had a new movie, he would always get his leading ladies on WEN and introduce them to WEN.
Oh, wow.
So there's so many stories that are incredible. And I happened to be on a plane with him one time coming back from London, so we were doing QVC London, and he was sleeping, but we were up in first class, and he was sleeping. I didn't want to disturb him, but I knew I had to before the plane ended, because I had to introduce. Like, he didn't know me. I just knew he'd use WEN, and that he would get all his leading ladies to do it. So I just wanted to do that. Hey, I'm Chaz Dean. I'm the guy from WEN, whatnot. So I don't always know. Sometimes you hear through the grapevine, and with social media, sometimes you find out now, but it's cool when you find out, wow, I never would have known that. The other person that is the coolest one, wait. Ding, ding, ding. Oh my God, hold on. Hold on. Patti LaBelle.
Oh, wow.
And when QVC would shoot at the Four Seasons here, they would do remotes here. There was these two beautiful black women that came up to me and said, I don't know if you know this, but Patti LaBelle uses WEN, and anyone that comes to her house, she sits them down, she puts on your infomercial, and she tells them all about it. And to this day, I've never met her. I don't even think she knows that I know this. But to know that she lets women of color especially know, you've got to use this product. I'm like, I've never met her. I don't know her, but these two ladies sharing this story and tell me, oh yeah, she sits them down, she tells them all about WEN. You got to get this product. I'm like, there's
That's
so
really
many
cool.
stories out there that I don't know, which is, again, it's social media. Sometimes it happens, but this is for anyone, and the message out
Yeah.
there, you never know. The reason I'm saying is you never know when you throw that rock out there, the ripple effect on who
Right.
it's going to touch. You never know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you know, and that's cool, but you'll never know all of it. You just have to know
Right.
that what you're doing is helping change lives. And when you're talking about a cleansing conditioner, like, how is that going to change my life? Like, trust me, it does. The real confidence is everything.
That's so true. I mean, that's how your story started. It's just getting confidence in yourself, getting to take that next leap. And I think overall, the story, what I've been so impressed by with your story is that you just barrel through. It's like you see these opportunities and you just take them, and you start as a photographer. You're like, well, I need to do hair, and then you're like, okay, that's it. And then, okay, you're taking the opportunities. And I think that a lot of times what holds people back, like entrepreneurs, is just the fear of failure. And even when you were scared that someone was
Or
going
how
to
to
steal
do
what
it.
you're
How
doing,
to
yeah,
do it
how to
as
do
well,
it.
but go ahead. How
Yeah,
to
but like,
do it or the fear of failure. Go ahead.
right. But even when you were afraid that someone might steal your ideas, or that QVC might say no, the thing that like got you over the hump was like a boost of confidence here or there, like really believing in what you were doing, because it must have been scary to be like, I'm gonna tell people to stop shampooing their hair, which is like, I'm sure that there was a ton of pushback at first, but
Well, they thought I was crazy. I'm
yeah,
like, just trust me. It's like, I didn't use shampoo hair. Feel your hair right now. How does it feel? Like, it feels
right,
great. I'm like, that's what it would do. And if you
yeah,
do it right, it'll get better and better and better. And it does. It's funny. I just showed him, I'm going through videos,
hmm,
um, and I ran across one from 9 years ago of a client. And I'm like, I need to show her now because she's in her
yeah,
60s. And I have one when she was in her 50s here. I'm like, her hair is 10 times better than it was when she first started with. I found, I'm like, I've got to show her that.
yeah,
Because her
yeah.
hair now is down the middle of her back. She's 10 years older than she was then.
Wow.
And her hair is so much better now. And it's like, it blows me away. When I see her, I'm like, her hair now is insane. And she's in her
Hmm.
60s. It's almost all one length down past the middle of her back. And in the one here, it was about to here. And it looked
Yeah.
good. It looked pretty. But now I'm like, I can't believe that was her. I forgot
Right.
that it was like that almost 10 years ago.
And
So
thank
here we
goodness you
10
took the
years later.
before.
What's
Yeah,
that?
like good thing that you have like the before.
I have
Like,
all those. See, and that's
take the
why.
videos.
That's
Yep.
why. It's true. That's why. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, to kind of wrap up here, one thing that I always ask every guest is if you could give yourself a piece of advice when you were just starting out, what would it be?
Trust your instinct.
Mhm.
What I always tell people is just because no one's ever done it doesn't mean it can't or shouldn't be done. It just means
Yeah.
no one's done it. If everyone didn't do things no one's ever done, we wouldn't have inventions. Things wouldn't happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have an idea, a concept or whatnot, and I say, I still stand with this, hold that in. Don't share that with everyone because
Yeah.
someone could steal your idea or at least take a version they believe of your, like right now, I was the first ever on the market cleansing conditioner.
Hmm.
Now, almost every product out there or every company out there has their version of cleansing
Hmm.
conditioner. And how that works against me is when people say, oh, I tried cleansing conditioner, it doesn't work.
Right.
I'm like, was it when? No, but they're all the same. I'm like, no, they're not.
No,
I
I
was
have a
the founder
patent.
creator. Yeah, they are piggybacked and they're not
Yeah.
the same. So yeah, just because it's never been done before doesn't mean it can't or shouldn't.
Hmm.
Follow your gut, follow your instinct, follow your intuition. I did tons of meditation and prayer work on it. Even
Hmm.
with my formulas, I really would sit in my room with my candles lit, and I would have a way that I meditate, and I ask the candles question, and a flicker or a jump of the flicker was a yes or a no. I would ask for the specific of what is my yes and what is my no, and I would ask my questions. Is this the forma? Do I keep going? Do I need to add some of this? Do I need to remove some of that?
Yeah.
That's how I did it, and everyone will find their way to do it. But
Hmm.
mine was through prayer and meditation. I remember I was with my partner at the time, and I would be up till all hours of the night, which I still am.
Yeah.
And he was sleeping. He woke up in the middle of the night, and he said, "I woke up, and it was just a candle. Just remember, it's one
Yes.
candle. But they said they woke up and they just saw light radiating, beaming from the room
Wow.
because I was in the room next to them. And it's
Yeah.
what they experienced from my prayer work and
Hmm.
meditation. They said they woke up and they could just feel the light pulsating and radiating from that
Wow.
room that I was in. And I need to get back to that more because it's what got me to where I'm at.
Yeah.
Life has happened and I do my meditation and prayer work, but not as intense as I did with that. And I 100% believe it 100% helped.
Wow, I've never heard that before, but that's really, and it obviously worked for you.
Yeah.
So
Well, the irony is blessing and the curse here is the irony of that. It worked for me, and my partner at the time tried the same thing
Yeah.
and lit the room on fire. And I'm not joking, lit the room on fire. It didn't trash the house, but the wall. And I have my
Yeah.
mom's hope chest on fire because was more careless with it, whatnot. So be cautious with it, whatnot. But
Yes.
mine is like I had it in the middle room. I had it in safe space and whatnot. And I do. For me, it's what works for you. It could be those little, those, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The sound bath thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
left, right, up and down,
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's with working with your energy and how you receive your answers to the universe. We're all energy. I'm like,
Yeah.
we leave here again. This is going off course, but we don't leave here male. We don't leave here female. We leave energy. That's all it is. There's
Yeah.
no sex attached to it. It's just energy. You're not male. You're not female. You are literally just energy. What suit you put on for the day, whatever you put on for the day, that's what you then become.
Yeah.
But it is literally just energy. So however energy connects with you or you connect with it to get your answers or whatever you're looking for, stop attaching sex to it. Sex is not attached to it. It's just energy. It's just energy. It's like the same thing with dogs. It's like they're male, they're female. It's not that they're humping each other. It's not, again, you don't call them gay because their dog's humping. It's just, it's energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how we get in that, and I'm not trying to go in a different direction, but just connect to your energy,
Yeah.
however it is, and stop putting walls up,
Right.
because it is walls are blocks, and you know that. I could have
Yeah.
done that. I could have been scared to enter any of this and wouldn't be here.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, and how are you spending your energy? You know, like that's kind of, if you break it down by that, it's like how do you communicate with your energy and how do you use it and what
And
are
are
you
you
spending
focusing
it
on
on? You know?
positive or negative energy?
Right,
Because
right.
whatever it is you focus on, like if Marisol is my housekeeper.
Yeah.
She always tell me, you skinny, you skinny, you skinny. She's telling me all the time, and she'll say, I'm fat, meaning her. I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm
Yeah.
fat. Last night, I was eating something, and she's like, no. I'm like, Marisol, I'm skinny. I can do it. Because she always tells me, you're skinny, skinny.
Yeah.
Because I tell myself that. My mom growing up, my mom always said, I look at food, I gain weight. I look at food, I gain weight. I look at food. Of course you do, because you're telling yourself that.
Yeah.
I would say as a kid, because I was too skinny, and I would
Yeah.
say, I can't gain weight no matter what I eat. I can't gain weight no matter what I eat. I can't gain weight no matter what I eat. I can't gain weight.
Yeah.
So that was my message, my mantra. Hers was, I look at food, I gain weight. Marisol, I fat, I fat, I fat. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop telling yourself that. You can't say I'm good and be bad. You can't say I'm bad and be
Right.
good. I've had dogs that are crazy and rambunctious, and people say, oh my God, she's the devil. Da, da, da. I'm like, meaning they're being funny, but I'm like, nope,
Right.
that's my angel. That's my angel.
Yeah.
And she's the one I just lost, and she was rambunctious and crazy as a puppy, but I always said, she's my angel. She's my perfect angel. She would get
Yeah.
into mischievous stuff. And like, is she still your angel? I'm like, yep, she's my angel. She grew up to be perfection and my angel. I didn't tell her, you're a bad girl, you're a bad girl. She's gonna be a bad girl. If I tell her,
Yeah.
you're good, you're my angel, you're gonna grow into what it is you say. It is all energy, and it's
Yeah.
what you're putting out there, what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're feeling is what's gonna come out of it. And that's
Yeah.
in your business and in your life.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
look at what you're focused on. Is it negative? Is it positive? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it what you want it to be? And if it's not what you want it to be, like, don't give it any time. It's free rent in your head.
Right, right.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I wouldn't be where I'm at if I focused on the bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really good advice for yourself in the in the past, but also for entrepreneurs and you know beauty founders who are just getting started today. Kind of last question here: where can people find you online? Where can people buy your products?
Products, chazdean.com is my website. Obviously, QVC.com is one as well, but chazdean.com is mine where we have everything. QVC has some things. On Instagram, TikTok is Chaz Dean. Facebook, Chaz Dean fan page. I do have YouTube, which I've got to be so much better because they were going to take TikTok away, and I know if they do, I need a place.
Yeah.
So it's official Chaz Dean on YouTube. I'm really bad at it. I've got to focus on that and do better on
Yeah.
that. And then the other one that's important is WEN, W-E-N, by Chaz Dean on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. They're on YouTube. WEN by Chaz Dean is on all platforms. But if you want to literally interact with me, it's Instagram Chaz Dean, TikTok Chaz Dean, and Facebook Chaz Dean fan page is the best way to interact. And Instagram's one of the strongest, in TikTok because I go live a lot. So it's, if they have questions, I can answer them, and it's helpful. And I am there. I don't hide behind Instagram. Just what you saw of
Here
me
you are.
today is who I am. It's who I am. If you have a question, I'll answer it. Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. Everybody go follow Chaz
Well,
on
you know.
various platforms. And thank you so much for being here today, Chaz. I appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Thank you. And one more thing I just want to say is my salon's in Hollywood. So I have the salon in
Yes.
Hollywood that's been there since '97 on Fountain, Chaz Dean Studio in Hollywood. And we opened one 2 years ago in New York. So we're in Greenwich Village
nice.
there. So that's for people that can't get their way to the West Coast. They now
Right.
can to the East Coast. So we're at 59 Greenwich Avenue in the West Village and 6444 Fountain Avenue in Hollywood. So
Amazing.
both places, and I usually go there every 6 weeks for about a week at a time, a week or two at a time. So I'm in both places. So come and see us, come and visit us. All the products are there if you have questions or
Yeah.
smell them or look at them. And the last thing we didn't say is this one was the one I developed was the brush dryer. And I did that because I got tired of people burning their hair with dryers that were too hot, singeing their hair. When you lift your hair up, mine's probably still damp. I cleansed it last night and it's air drying. But when you lift your hair up, your thickness should be the same thickness from your roots all the way to your ends. If it's not and it gets thinner, thinner, and thinner, it's what you're doing to your hair. It's not, people think, oh, my hair's thin. I'm like, what grows out of your scalp is how thick your hair is. If it gets thinner and weaker towards the ends, it's either shampoo, harsh chemicals, or heat, or all of the above, or color, or bleach, or extensions. All of the above is what you're doing to your hair. Stop abusing your hair.
Yeah.
And what's growing out of your scalp is the actual thickness of your hair. And that's why I developed these. And what I do get from this is people like, my hair's so much fuller and thicker and it's healthy again.
Yeah.
So yeah, stop burning your hair. If you have those kind of dryers, turn your heat setting down to the lowest setting. If you have the kind that have nozzles, concentrators, always use that, or it singes your hair and burns your hair. So
Or
I
buy
developed
the
one
brush
that you
dryer
can't
from
do.
WEN.
Yeah,
That's the
and
key.
you can't burn your hair no matter what you try here because
Yeah.
it doesn't exceed 240. So thank you. And yeah, I
Thank
create them
you.
for if I see a problem in the industry is the bottom line.
Amazing. Well, we're so excited to see all the new products that you come up with over the next couple of years. And
Thank
the
you.
brush dryer, I'm really excited to try that out. So I will be purchasing one.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone at home or on the go for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to subscribe, share with a friend, leave us a review. And if there's anything you'd like to hear on an upcoming episode, just let us know. For more insights, please follow us on LinkedIn or visit rightleftagency.com. And we'll be back next week with more stories of success, innovation, and marketing strategies to help you grow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.